start the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we are going to start with the approval of minutes.
Start with September.
We're going to start with September 7th, and then we're going to go back to June 23rd. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from September 7th as presented?
There's discussion, is that before or after the motion?
After the.
Okay, the motion, yes.
Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just had a couple things. On the list of unfinished business, we were missing one of the policies that we talked about is DK for payment procedure. So that should be listed along with unfinished business as well as in motion 2406.
So we voted that,
We did vote
you
on that
voted
one. It was-
DK.
yeah.
Unfinished, finished, it was the second reading.
Correct.
So we just need to add that
DK.
in the list. Got
And
it.
then, under new business, CHCA, that was the duplicate, so we actually voted second reading at the top. So it's under unfinished business, but it's also under new business.
Right. And the agenda here doesn't have it duplicated, so Karen, we need it was voted on the second
Second
reading.
reading.
So
just
was skipped, shouldn't be noted at all on the new
new
business.
business.
Right.
Correct.
You with us, Karen?
Yep, under
Okay.
2407?
Yeah.
Okay, and what was the?
And right above it too, Karen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth one up from the bottom under new business, the CHCA before the motion.
Yep, and so that shouldn't be in the 2407 vote, motion?
Correct. It should
Okay.
just be completely struck because
Okay.
we didn't discuss it there because it was already
Okay.
discussed under unfinished
Great.
business.
Yeah, I don't see it in the motion itself, so at least that's good.
Yeah.
So we'll just take it out of under new business. Perfect.
And then a question was, under new business, AC, we reviewed it, but we didn't, I think we had changes and we were discussing it at this meeting.
Right, it's
So
here on
should-
new
is that-
business, so we probably put it on hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that should be different. That's all I have.
Was that AD or AC?
AC,
AC.
non-discrimination.
Okay, great.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second, we had our discussion, we have our notes. All in favor of approving the minutes for September 7th
As amended.
as amended? Are we ready?
Yes, so I'm gonna walk through here, and I'm actually gonna ask, in addition to this executive session, also, what missed the posting here is, we're gonna ask you to vote both regular and executive session for the 23rd. So that's not listed there, but it's bringing you back to June, the virtual meeting. So I think the times are correct, Sam. So first you have the regular meeting, which we opened up at 12:01 virtually, immediately went into executive session. Had conversations, then there was a vote to leave executive session. So this is just saying, we went in at 12:01,
Right,
then we left.
right.
Over here, what I handed you is,
The minutes
we
from
talked in
executive
executive session. At 12:29, we called it 2401 because we had, 24-01 ES, because we'd already numbered all these. So the only vote then was to get out of executive session. Then we get back in here and immediately it takes us literally 3 minutes to run the two motions to accept the MOU for the teachers and then accept the MOU for Teamsters. So I think these are right. I think it's times we're just finally cleaning out June and that executive session. If you remember, I was scribbling and I sent my notes to Karen and she did a great job making something of it.
So, before we even go, I don't remember Mrs. Pelly and Jody being
there.
present.
in
either.
either.
Are you on that on line
No,
one?
I was
Okay,
not. So we just need
Okay.
to strike those.
yep. Yep,
Other than that, is there a motion to approve the executive and regular session minutes from our meeting Friday, June 23rd, 2023?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
too many sets of paper.
There is a lot.
I'm getting myself messed up.
And now we're on to the financial report.
All right. The minutes. Alrighty, so you have your first peek at the new year. It is not complete. Remind myself where we are here. We're gonna come back to you next month and do some transfers, because a whole lot has happened. You had staff, you're gonna have a number of shortfalls that are because we're negotiating. Remember, when we negotiate, we usually leave the pool of dollars in one line, which would be the regular teacher line. And then we need to transfer and change the starting budget in items like your technology teaching line, the library line, the guidance, psychologists, etc. So next month, we will recommend transfers in the budget number to try and set those right. In addition to that, you had a lot of movements of special ed staff that went back to classrooms, then therefore we backfilled, and in some cases for lower salaries. We still have some cleaning up to do here though. So we're gonna get there and all of your salaries are gonna net out to zero. But we wanted to put this in the packet. We've done some more work and have one more month of trying to clean up, deal with all of the domino effects of changing staff and positions and make sure they're not in ESSER, etc. So we will get back to you on that. We also have not fully encumbered your out-of-district tuitions. So
Okay.
next month we'll have certainly, almost, I believe, all of that mass tuition number will need to be encumbered, and then some on the private. So that should show a negative unless we know by the time we meet again what we're getting for rural aid or additional circuit breaker money, in which case we'll start trying to pound away at the shortfall, but
So
they
we
were.
still don't have that information.
No, Desi said they would be out by September 30th, and here we are not. But I am not the only superintendent knocking at their door and chomping at the bit and saying, we need those numbers, so I'll be calling the commissioner myself if we don't have them by next month.
Okay.
Other than that, I think,
So the special ed teacher salaries line, that's part of what you were just talking about with people
yeah,
saving
yeah,
up.
between those
That's
two,
60.
I'm just not convinced. It would look like it's a simple, and I haven't done all the math, because you've got a couple of other lines that have, we're gonna clean out, but that really is only like probably $20,000 of other things. When all is said and done, we shouldn't have almost $100,000 extra in teacher salaries. So I think what's happened is we've probably got something that is really actually a pathways teacher
Okay.
or pre-K teacher that is encumbered elsewhere that needs to be here. So those revolving funds get a little tricky, especially because you had an unusual amount of movement this year. So
We encourage that.
it's all good.
Good for growth.
It's all good. So folks landed where they would like, where their skill sets are the best, but we just have to follow the budget docs.
And you said you thought the special ed tuition for mass was gonna be encumbered.
Yeah.
Do we anticipate that special ed tuition private is that?
It's gonna be tons higher.
Is gonna get worse.
Yeah, because as we reported last, we started with close to another $400,000 shortfall. I think we were in the area of about 150 to 200 waiting for our rural aid, our circuit breaker payments to know for sure what they're paying, and we will qualify for extraordinary relief. So we'll get there. We'll get there.
Any other questions?
So once we find out about circuit breaker and rural aid, we'll have that grant report as well.
Yep.
Hopefully next,
Yep.
hopefully next month.
Yeah, yep.
All right, so we're gonna move on to communications.
Nothing new actually in writing or email anyway.
So we will move on to Mrs. Kelly with the principal's report.
So our enrollment figure is showing 905 at this time with an additional 11 U61 students. MCAS, Desi publicly released our MCAS accountability results recently, and we will talk about that in detail at our November meeting, as we typically do with Assistant Superintendent Barrasa's presentation, so we can go over that. Professional development, on the 21st, if you recall, we were going to focus on MCAS analysis at that time because of a different type of need. We shifted to doing instructional strategies for supporting English learners, and the whole staff participated in that. So I want to thank Colleen DeBari and Zachary Soderberg for their informative presentations. Grade level teams worked on MCAS analysis during our faculty meeting this past Monday. So they did some of the tasks that we would have done on the 21st on that day. Tomorrow is a professional development day, and we have great menu options, and just a lot of thanks to our professional development committee for all of their hard work on that. Emergency unsheltered students and families. So as of October 1st, Burgess enrolled 36 emergency unsheltered students across all grade levels. We're very proud of the efforts of our staff and the support from the community as we work through this situation. As you'll see, there's lots of great updates from the classrooms, lots of wonderful work happening. And that's kind of it for me. Are there any questions?
I have a question. So I'm just gonna touch base on, I don't know, I'm gonna put it in yours, the field use. My question would be, when are teams, organizations required to put in 4 times for the fields?
We don't have hard dates. We
Okay.
have had them in the past, and we're happy to revisit that. But we do wait until they're in, and then we look at all of them collectively.
Okay. Okay. That's not my question.
But we, as you know, we can go back to some other strategies. The other thing I would like to consider is there is a software program that the town purchased in order to sort of help facilitate this, and we need to revisit where we are with
Okay.
that.
Okay. Any other questions for Mrs. Kelly?
I do, yes, just touching base on that. Do you ever work directly with rec to, I know like it's a full-time job figuring out who's gonna be where for the fields here.
We have.
Okay.
So in the past, because field utilization was such just a big part of what I was doing, we would 3 times a year, prior to school committee meeting, gather the league presidents to the table, and we would sit and collectively try to work out the field utilization and the gym utilization, which is definitely as significant. Happy to revisit that if that's what we think we need to do, and try to come to some sort of consensus to make sure it's equitable. But as you say, the rec, I don't know hypothetically what Little League is using for fields at
Town
the barn
yes.
or
She only
Turner.
knows.
I only know
Right.
here. So when we're actually distributing time, I don't know if one league is taking all the time on all the other fields.
Yeah.
So it's a little challenging on that end, but thank you for asking.
No. For that, do we need a motion to reintroduce those 3 or so meetings per year?
Those are mine. Those are my meetings.
Okay.
Kate Alexander would come, but more in her role as a league president.
Sure.
But
Okay.
but happy to have anybody who wants to come to it. Super.
Any other questions? No? We'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, I don't have a lot of new. We talked a little bit about PD on Friday, which will be for the most part the junior high and high school with various different kind of conference style sessions on both sides of the street, which looks like the weather's gonna hold out. I don't think it'll be quite as glorious as it was last year, but it's not gonna rain. So that's awesome, and then it'll come up pretty quickly after the one more half day of PD, which is it, it's a 25th? That's what I thought. And that's another, that'll primarily be around safety, and that's another one of those that we do look to have all support staff. If you remember your ESPs, your support staff often goes home on half days. That'd be one of those that we've let them know we'd like them to stay for the day. We pay them the extra time because it's really important to cover those topics and have them all here. So that's coming up, and the only other note I'd like you to kind of put in your calendar is the first of the twice a year joint committee meeting this year is going to be typically in November. The last few years it has been just before Thanksgiving. That's not hugely attended by the Union 61. I don't really know why. So Tantascwa has agreed, the two joint chairs, the Tantascwa chair and the Union 61 chair, looked at the calendar, and we've decided to push that to Wednesday the 29th. And your main agenda items on that night will be discussing and voting the school calendar for next year. I already talked about fiscal 25. And reviewing and voting the central office budget for next year, which really officially kicks off the new year budget process. So if you can kind of put a little note on that and hopefully reserve that 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock up at the junior high on the 29th. And I will remind you again next month. That is it for now.
Okay. So thank you, Mrs. Boyd. We'll move on to public access. Anyone? No? Okay, I will close public access. We'll go to subcommittee reports. We don't have any subcommittees that we can report on. So we are done with that, so move on to the Tantascwa representative who isn't here, so
Oh,
I'm
boy.
gonna rely on you.
And I will say, the meeting was a quick meeting. It was their first one of the new year. The biggest chunk of it was their first meeting for Tantascwa. They usually have a little recess and break out into the new subcommittees for the year. I believe Whitney is on curriculum,
Okay.
perhaps building and physical plant, but I'm not positive. I'm sure of curriculum. So they broke out just to kind of have their first little sub-meeting, determine who their chair was, and other than that, we met one of our two new student reps for the year. I think they're still working on getting us another one. And the first meeting of the new high school principal, Dr. Dufresne, was there. So other than that, it was a light, positive starting. I loved hearing from the students saying everything is going well. Everybody was in a positive, optimistic mood, as positive and optimistic as you can be to be a high school teenager. But the staff, I think, are in a good place too.
Thank you. So we're gonna move on to unfinished business. We have amend second reading and adoption of 6 policies. I will go ahead and entertain a motion to amend second reading and adopt these 6 policies as written.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
No, not yet.
Okay. On ACA, just need to insert one more word. In the second paragraph, we have second line, sex, sexual orientation, or gender. We're missing identity.
Say that.
Gender identity.
Gender identity.
Second paragraph, second line.
Yep.
Gender identity. Right here, identity.
Oh,
gender
second
identity.
paragraph.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's all I had on that.
so we had a motion and a second. Should I modify that to as amended?
As amended, yep.
As amended.
Yep.
Any more discussion? All in favor? And moving on to new business.
Just two. At AC, I think we referred to that we talked about last month, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, we put this on hold to bring back and add the asterisk language.
I think it also was that we didn't match, so the bolded categories, I don't think that was there last time. I think it was just
Okay.
our original categories.
Yeah, got it,
so-
you're right, okay. The asterisk probably was already there, you're right, we just added the more detailed, extensive list.
Yeah.
Correct. Got it. And then the other DJE is back to you again. Just to clean up the current procurement laws. Anything over 10,000, you need to procure 3. That, the ceiling used to be 50, the ceiling increased to 100,000. So anywhere from 10 to 100,000, you can get 3 quotes. Anything over 100,000 is a formal bid process. Anything under 10 is best business, business prudence. So we just want to clarify that and clean that all up and have that reflect what the new procurement bidding laws are. That's been in effect for about a year.
Okay, I will go ahead and entertain a motion to amend upon first reading AC and DJE. Is there a second? Any more discussion?
Just on AC, so just below where we have the bolded section, the last sentence in that paragraph restates our categories, but it's the old version. So I'd actually just recommend that we strike part of it. So we're, in the very last sentence, leave it just as if someone has a complaint or feels they've been discriminated against, their complaint should be registered with the Title IX compliance officer. Because otherwise, we're gonna have to relist everything we just
Yep.
listed.
Yep, yep. Yep.
That makes sense.
Got it.
Okay, so now the motion is to amend upon first reading the amended policy. The
First
amended-
reading, right, as amended for
As
AC
amended
and
for
as presented with
AC
DJE.
and
Sure.
presented for DJE.
Sure.
And we had a motion and a second, we had discussion, all in favor?
Awesome.
Now we're gonna move on to the fun part. Is there a motion to adjourn?
We have, oh, you have
More?
more? Two quick
Other
things.
new business?
Two
Yeah.
quick things. One, I just wanted to circle back on the draft letter that we had talked about to support the
Yep.
rural schools bill. Did
Sam, sign that.
That happened?
Yep.
Okay. And then I had one new thing that was brought up when I was talking with the school nurse. So I don't know if you guys remember last season, I guess it wasn't really last year, when Lisa was here, she had brought us a letter that she had wanted to change the allergy letter. And at that time, by my recollection, we had said we don't need to actually vote on the letter because I think we were saying it was in the handbook. But Tara reached out to me because she said that's what Lisa recalled, but it actually is in the policy. So this year, she sent the formal letter that requires parents send back a signed notice that they received it. So my proposal would be that maybe we can review this policy next month and look at the letter. So I did receive the letter that Holland uses, so we could maybe talk about that as a template for if we want to change our letter to what Holland is using. The main difference here is that the nurses currently need to track if they get all of these back from every parent in classrooms with children that have severe allergies. And so she was asking if we could remove basically that need for the return.
What policy is that?
This is policy JLCDD-1, which is the life-threatening allergic reaction and epinephrine
Oh, we
policy.
didn't have to sign that
I got-
last year.
We had to sign it this year.
But I signed it
Well,
last
is
year.
does the
but I remember
policy say it
moving
has to be
stuff
signed in return?
It does.
Yeah.
So then we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Because last year we
Yeah.
didn't have to do that, okay.
Yep.
So I can send you the digital
Yeah,
version
well,
of this, so you
and
can,
you-
or you have it.
you-
Yes.
yes.
I know that she talked to you already,
Yep.
just for discussion. It already went out this year, so there's no rush on this, it's just in preparation for
And
next
as
year.
we are in the process of revising our handbook, this is a Union 61 initiative, Coleman Tabari, when she has time.
I know.
We'll
Gotta get back
actually
to that.
start, doing the deep dive on that, making sure we have some universal language kind of thing. So when that happens, we'll, make sure that things are updated in there as well. Mhm.
Okay, that's all I have. Thanks.
You want that?
No, good, thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
All in favor? 6:27.
Awesome. Thank you much.